Hey, I'm taking a bath, so I'm just gonna keep the camera at a real specific place and do this in the bath, because I thought, man, I've been living by this mantra that I want to share with some people, and I want to take a bath. I can just do it after the bath. Maybe I'll just voice memo some people while I'm in the bath. But then I thought, you know, this is a really relaxed, beautiful time if I can figure out a way to do this that is flesh appropriate, which it turns out that this windowsill is just perfect. I'm a little hot, as you can see, a little peaked, but you know what? It's a hot topic. So this mantra that I've been living by lately is the problem is the solution. The problem is the solution. So this comes from A Course in Miracles, and I'm on day 34 in the Course in Miracles workbook, which lesson for day 34 is I could choose to see peace instead of this, whatever this is. And I'm on almost page 400, so pretty deep and diligent with A Course in Miracles for the past month, and underlining every other sentence and just trying to live by it. So here's a couple of stories that demonstrate to me this idea of the problem being the solution. And I'm living by this so much lately that I almost want to get it tattooed on me. Yet the problem of not having the tattoo that I want is somehow the solution. So the first situation that really brought this home to me, I recently went to the Texas coast with my parents, which was a phenomenal time, down to Port Aransas, to the Gulf of Mexico, and it's just magical down there for anyone who has or hasn't been there. Wow. Padre Island National Seashore. Talk about public land that is so sacred. So the first day I get out there, and my parents have gone fishing, so they've taken the truck, and I'm there with Peter and Rosalind, my dogs, and I know that I want to go running on the beach, I want to swim in the ocean, and I want to go somewhere where my dogs can get off leash. Well, because this is my criteria, I have this like idea of what that looks like from the past mostly, right? That I'm hanging on to, like, well, that beach is going to look like this. This is the kind of beach that's going to look like. Well, I'm already stressed about that because I'm like, I don't think that I can walk to a place where there's a beach like that, that is one where I can let my dogs off leash, because all of the walkable public beaches were, first of all, still pretty far away, like walking down roads, and second of all, probably had to have dogs leashed. And so I already felt constrained, but those were kind of my criteria: running, getting in the ocean, my dogs being off leash. I was willing to sacrifice my dogs getting off leash if I had to, keep them attached to me on the run and getting in the ocean. And so I go out, and right away I feel an instinct to like take a turn that I'm not planning on taking, which I later like find out just took me a totally different place than I was thinking. But so I take that and I start walking, and like I have the dogs attached to me, and pretty quickly that little 2-track that I take leads to a place that says no trespassing, which I'm like, okay, but this looks legit, because this is just gonna be, you know, something that a developer bought that they're not doing anything with yet. And so I'm just gonna go this way and, you know, kind of hope that no one sees me, and like be very diligent and obsessed with keeping my dogs on leash, because if I got in trouble for being here already, I wouldn't want to exacerbate it even further. So I'm like very stringent about keeping them on leash. Even like, I think I even keep them on leash for the first estuary I cross. Like I'm running in my running shoes. I have to take my shoes off to cross these estuaries, because basically I find myself back in like a maze of just, I don't think they're actually mangroves, but mangrove like mud flat bog estuary that is like a bird paradise. Like probably 5 different kinds of herons, egrets, something like rosebill spoon something, cormorants, like seriously probably 100 different types of like sea and marsh birds, terns and seagulls, pelicans. And so I find but I'm very much like, okay, I'm getting to the beach. Like I'm like, where is the beach? Like, I'm just looking, it's over that hill. Oh, I'm gonna come over this rise of this marshy sand flat grass, and there the beach is gonna be, and there the beach is gonna be. And it's not there. Every time I come over another rise, it's just more of this sort of estuary ecosystem. And so I continue like this. So at some point though, I get really frustrated about trying to keep Peter and Rosalind on leash. And that's the first thing that I'm like, okay, fuck it. I'm letting this go. Like, if we get caught back here, like, whatever. I'm actually in a really good place to let them off leash. So there's nobody anywhere. And we're getting further and further away from any kind of civilization. So we go on like that. Peter and Rosalind running off leash, me running with my running shoes that I thankfully brought, because a lot of that country, my feet actually got pretty jabbed up. It was... There were just like reed stalks kind of and things like that were sharp. So I'm running in my shoes, taking them off intermittently to cross estuaries, getting loads of exercise. The dogs are off leash. But the whole time I'm like very destination oriented. I pick out different landscapes. I'm like, oh, the beach will be there. And then once I get there, I can take the road back to, you know, run the rest of the way back to the house. But, oh, that's so far away and this country is so hard to cross that will I make it back by my 1 p.m. like class meeting that I have? So all of this stuff is getting projected, and the vibe is very much of I am surmounting a problem. Like all of this landscape that I'm passing through, all this country that I'm covering, like this enchanting, majestic estuary ecosystem is like keeping me from that destination that I need to get to. So my whole vibe towards it is like, get to the end of it rather than sink in. So finally, you know where this is going. At some point, I didn't know where it was going, by the way, the whole time. I was not like, and it's not that I was having a bad time, it's just that I was so in that feeling of surmounting a problem that I didn't realize the solution. I was inside the solution. Literally, saltwater solution. So I go to cross this particularly wide and deep estuary, and I kind of stop out in the middle of it and I look around, and Peter and Rosalind are splashing through the salt water and there are birds everywhere, and we're completely sheltered from all the rest of the ocean, all the rest of the estuaries. Like we're in like essentially this sacred pool that is like totally protected by plant growth and hills on all sides. And I just suddenly look around and I'm like, oh my goddess, like this is what I've been looking for. Peter and Rosalind are off leash. I've gotten to run this whole time. And now this is so much better than anything I even could have imagined in my conscious mind of what I thought the problem was. Cross this estuary, cross this estuary, cross this estuary to get to the beach is the solution. This estuary is everything I've been looking for. Literally, what I was acting like was the problem was the solution, what I was looking for. Like that distant destination that I thought I had to get to, I didn't realize that every moment of the journey was giving me that, but better. So I like hang up my shoes and dog leashes on this kind of old fence post stick that's like sticking up out of the estuary and sink down into the salt water, and it's literally a float tank. Like, you know, I think saltwater must always be that when we're out in the ocean and stuff too, but usually you're, you know, out there getting chopped by the waves and pulled by the tide, and it's maybe deeper or whatever. And here I'm in this little completely protected pool of salt water, like a giant, you know, the size of maybe like an Olympic swimming pool, bird bath that's about as deep as, you know, maybe 2.5, 3 feet deep of salt water. And I'm just floating like, okay, this is everything I wanted times a million. I'm protectedly floating in a sacred, holy, healing bath of salt water, completely covered and tucked away from civilization, the larger ocean. My dogs are free. I'm in bird paradise. Like, everything that I thought I had to cross to get to where I was going, which I was basing on the past, like taking from the past and projecting into the future, that like, oh, the future has to be like the past, constraining myself in that way. The solution, like what I saw as the problem, literally was the solution. And I think that this is always the case, because it's just a switch in perception. And that little willingness, like A Course in Miracles talks about, is all that's required. It's just a switch in perception. The whole point, of course, is that there's never any problem. We're just perceiving it as one by being constricted and obsessed with a certain outcome. But it's like, I mean, I think my example is really good too, because I think it can be fun to do these kind of experiments ourselves, especially like when we get a little bit specific but still open, like, okay, these are my criteria: going for a run, bathing in the salt water, dogs are off leash. The problem, what I perceived as the problem and made the problem, the real problem was my perspective and outlook, was that I was like, that can only look this way. The solution is that there are many, many ways that that could look, that my small, single ego separated perspective isn't going to be able to see. So that's story one, and I'll tell story two. But yeah, I just want to say again, like, this is quite literal. The obstruction is the opening. The problem is the solution. The barrier is the blessing, like literally, not just metaphorically, like literally in a very tangible sense. Like, whatever you perceive as blocking your way to something, or that you have to get over or around or through or like remove in order to get what you want, that thing holds what you want right now. Not in the future where you think you can get what you want, but like whatever you think is the problem literally is a solution right now. So the other story is really cute. So I went to Austin to see friends, well, to the hill country of Texas, on Friday. And right before I'm getting ready to leave, there's like this huge deluge of rain, and apparently there's tornado warnings, and it's not looking good. Okay, it's not looking good at all. And I'm like ready to go. I'm literally, all my stuff is packed in the car. I'm like coming back inside to get one more thing, and it just starts downpouring. Well, there's this guy who's working on some, he's an electrician, and he's doing some stuff at the house for my parents, and he and I have met a couple of times, and he just seems like a really deep, present, thoughtful, spiritual person, and we've, you know, had this resonance and this connection, I have felt. And he's there working with another guy, and I'm like, oh, you know, I want to give him a hug before I go, but like whatever. And he's a musician, and he had said something about my parents' piano earlier, and like, who plays it? And I was like, oh, you should play it, because I remembered him saying he got into music playing piano. So anyway, this rain though, like, you know, hours later is going on. It's right before I'm going to leave, and I'm standing in the kitchen, and I feel my heart, like Michael Singer talks about this in Untethered Soul and Surrender Experiments and Living Untethered. It's like, I feel my heart closing and constricting, because I can feel like this problem of like, I have a time limit in Austin. Like, I need to get there. How am I going to get there? Like, you know, this is a problem that it's raining like this right now. This is a problem. And I just sit there for a second, and I breathe, and I'm like, okay, the problem is the solution. The problem is the solution. I don't know how, I don't know for what, and maybe it's something different than my conscious mind is even grasping right now, but like, for what is right now, that big perfect picture, like the problem is the solution. So I walk out, and they have had to come inside because they got driven in by the rain. Because it's literally raining that hard outside, like absolute torrential battering against the walls. And he just walks right down and sits down at the piano and starts playing. And I like sink down in a squat behind him with my dog Rosalind with me, and just enter this world of total presence and communion through music. Because he's just playing like the soundtrack to that moment, like as he called it, meddling. But it was like, it was alive. It was so alive, and I was so there for it. And the rain only dramatized it because it created this container that was happening that was like very intense backdrop. And, you know, this went on for an eternity of like 30 seconds, and so special. And then the rain stopped like 5 minutes later, and I left and like went on my way, like according to plan. And only later did I laugh when I was driving, because I was like, oh, right, the problem is the solution. And if it hadn't started raining like that, I would have never gotten to hear him play piano. The rain drove them inside, and the rain also added to the overall visceral musical experience of the whole present gift of that. So yeah, those were just two stories that were really poignant. The estuary one, like, that one hit me really hard, and that was what got me. It was so almost hilarious, like in the moment, of how hard I'd been trying to like get around and get over this thing that was trying to give me exactly what I wanted, that it just really deeply hit me in this way where I was like, okay, well, then that's my motto now. That's my mantra. The problem is the solution. The problem is the solution. So if you have any shares about experiences with this, or I just invite you to test it in your own life and just stay open and patient and trusting and full of faith. And it'll reveal to you that what you thought was a problem is actually the solution that you've been looking for. You just had to look. And when we're looking at things as a problem, we can't see them for what they are, which is like every present moment offers us the gift of the perfect solution. As in like the real meaning of solution, you know, everything solved together, it's so intermingled, it's so melted into it that it's all become one substance, and that is available. That's what's happening, I think, in every moment. So anyway, these are my bath time chronicles, and hopefully my worry about, you know, oh, well, I want to take a bath first and then do this and that. Oh, it's like the problem is a solution. I'll just record it in the bath. So I hope that this was relaxing for you as well. I've got some bath salt with herbs that my sister-in-law made that's in here. It's really nice. The problem is the solution. The problem is the solution.